Welcome to another deep dive. This time we're going to be unraveling a chilling tale, a story shrouded in mystery and shadows. The crime of Cuenca, in the heart of rural Spain. Back in 1910, a shepherd by the name of Jose Maria Grimaldos, he was known as El Cepa, just vanished, gone. Imagine you're in this small village, word spreads. Suddenly a familiar face is gone, swallowed by the vast landscape, no trace.
Yeah. It's easy to underestimate the impact of isolation and the lack of information, how profoundly it can affect a community, especially one steeped in folklore and where the line between the seen and the unseen, well, it's kind of blurred.
Yeah, it really is. It's like the perfect breeding ground for whispers and speculation.
Right.
That's exactly what happened. No sign of El Cepa. The villagers turned to the only explanation they had, supernatural ones.
Right.
Some swore they heard his mournful cries, carried on the wind.
Wow.
Others claimed to see his spectral figure, haunting the very roads he used to walk.
These weren't just ghost stories told to frighten children. For these people, it was unsettling, tangible evidence of something sinister. And this fear, fueled by vivid dreams and unsettling accounts, quickly began to focus on two other shepherds, Gregorio Valero and Leon Sanchez.
Now these two weren't exactly saints. They'd been known to tease El Cepa. Sadly, this made them easy targets in the absence of any real leads.
It's like the community needed someone to blame, to make sense of this unsettling disappearance.
Yeah, needed an answer.
Yeah, that need for an explanation, an answer. Even if it's based on flimsy evidence, it's how fear twists even the most rational thought processes. And in this case, it led to a terrible injustice. A group of local girls, gripped by terror from El Cepa's supposed ghost, claimed to have seen him buried on the farm where Valero and Sanchez worked.
Wow. Imagine being one of those young women. The fear, the stories, the isolation. It's not hard to see how their imaginations, fueled by terror, could conjure up such vivid and incriminating images.
Their testimony, as unreliable as it may seem to us now, was taken as gospel. It provided a location, a link, further incriminating those shepherds. But the nail in their coffin, the event that truly sealed their fate, came from a very unexpected source. A deathbed confession.
This is where it takes a chilling turn.
The farm overseer, Antonio Ruiz, lay dying. In his final moments, he confessed a terrifying dream to the parish priest. In this dream, he saw El Cepa's mutilated body, crying out for justice, pointing accusingly at Valero and Sanchez.
I mean, imagine the weight of that confession. Delivered on the edge of death, it's almost impossible for us today to comprehend the power of such a statement in that time and place.
Dreams held a lot of weight, often seen as messages from beyond. And a deathbed confession. That was considered undeniable truth, a divine revelation. The community, already primed to believe the worst, now they had the proof they needed.
Yeah. It's like a horrifying domino effect. Fear leads to suspicion, leads to flimsy evidence, culminating in a false confession. And in the hands of the Guardia Civil, desperate to solve the case, that confession became a tool, a means to an end, regardless of the truth.
A dark stain on the pursuit of justice, a reminder how easily power can be misused, especially when fear and societal pressure hold sway. What followed wasn't an investigation, but a brutal campaign to extract a confession, no matter the methods.
And the methods were nothing short of barbaric.
Picture this: cold, damp cell, echoing silence, only the sound of dripping water. Now imagine the pain, the fear, the desperation. That was Valero and Sanchez's reality.
They were subjected to torture that would make your blood run cold. Deprived of food and water, beaten mercilessly, they were hung by their genitals, their teeth and nails ripped out with pliers. Hard to believe that such brutality could be inflicted in the name of justice.
This was an interrogation, pure cruelty, designed to break them, force a confession to a crime they didn't commit, and under that duress, they did.
But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Driven to the edge of madness, they confessed to various scenarios, each more outlandish than the last.
Right.
One day they'd claim they burned the body, the next, buried it in the cemetery.
Oh, wow.
Every news story, a desperate attempt to appease their tormentors, only served to muddy the waters even more.
Tragic irony. Their forced confessions, born out of unimaginable pain and desperation, only strengthened the belief in their guilt. Even Gregorio's wife, Dolores, was pressured to corroborate these ever-shifting stories. Imagine the impossible choice: support her husband and risk losing her children, or betray him and potentially save them.
It's almost too much to bear. Innocent people caught in a web of lies, their lives hanging by a thread, all based on whispers, fear, and coerced confessions, not a shred of real evidence.
And so, with the community convinced, and a confession, no matter how dubious, Valero and Sanchez were convicted of El Cepa's murder, sentenced to 18 years. But this story takes an incredible turn.
It does. Because after 12 grueling years, the truth, in the most unexpected way, finally came to light. A simple letter arrived in the village, addressed to the very priest who had played a part in their conviction.
From a priest in a nearby village called Mira, requesting a copy of Jose Maria Grimaldos's birth certificate because El Cepo was alive and about to get married.
Like something out of a Gothic novel, the dead man returns, casting a long shadow over the living. Imagine the shock, the disbelief that must have rippled through the community.
You can almost hear the whispers, turning to shouts of disbelief. The foundation of their beliefs crumbled before their eyes.
So what had El Cepo been doing all this time? Deliberately hiding, or was there a more innocent explanation?
El Cepo, ever the simple shepherd, sought treatment at those healing baths, as he'd intended. Afterward, he simply decided to seek his fortune elsewhere, traveling to Valencia, eventually settling in Mira. No grand conspiracy, no deception, just a man living his life, unaware of the chaos.
But here's another twist. Turns out, El Cepo had written to his sister years earlier, letting her know he was alive. But that letter, for reasons unknown, was never acknowledged.
Could his family have known all along? Did they choose silence out of fear, shame? We may never know, but it adds another layer of intrigue to this unbelievable story.
So with El Cepo's return, the injustice became impossible to ignore. The Minister of Grace and Justice immediately ordered a review. The Supreme Court, recognizing the error, overturned the convictions, declaring Valero and Sanchez innocent. But does a declaration of innocence truly erase the trauma, the scars left by years of wrongful imprisonment?
That's a question we'll explore further, but first, we need to understand the ripple effect, the impact on the community, the individuals involved, and even the Spanish legal system.
But maybe the most unsettling part is the aftermath. Even though the truth was revealed, it left a trail of shattered lives and lingering questions.
Like the closing of a dark chapter. But the shadows, they still linger. For those caught in this, there was no easy return to normal. Take El Cepo, physically alive, but he returned to a world where he was already mourned, a world where his very existence was intertwined with ghosts and murder.
It's hard to imagine the disorientation, almost a surreal experience.
Yeah.
Stepping back into a life that had moved on, where you're both a familiar face and a specter from the past.
Absolutely. Some villagers greeted him with suspicion, unable to reconcile a man standing before them with the ghost stories that had haunted their nights. Others whispered accusations, claiming he'd orchestrated it all, that he and his family protected their reputation through a macabre silence.
It's a cruel irony. The victim now faced new accusations, a new wave of suspicion. His return, meant to bring closure, only added another layer of complexity.
Yeah.
What about Valero and Sanchez? Finally declared innocent, names cleared, but can you really erase 12 years of wrongful imprisonment, 12 years of physical and psychological torment?
Yeah. The city of Madrid offered them jobs as park keepers, the government, a lifelong pension. But how do you put a price on that? A stolen decade, the trauma of torture, the weight of social stigma.
Right.
Their lives were fractured. They struggled to find their place. In a society that still viewed them with suspicion, their past hanging over them like a shroud. The whispers, the glances, a constant reminder that even when justice prevails, it can be too late.
To truly heal.
It's true. And there's another tragedy, the forced confessions. Extracted under duress, pitted them against each other. Imagine the psychological strain, the betrayal of having to accuse a friend to save yourself from torment.
Their friendship, once a source of strength and support, became another casualty. It's a testament to those interrogation tactics. They break the individual, but they also sever the bonds that connect us.
The crime of Cuenca sent shockwaves through the Spanish legal system, forced a reevaluation of its practices, led to reforms, like requiring a body as evidence in homicide cases, an acknowledgement of the fallibility of confessions under duress. Right, a reminder that justice isn't a given, it's a process. Constant vigilance, a framework, needs to be constantly reevaluated, strengthened, to protect the innocent.
This deep dive has been a journey into the darkest corners of human nature, how fear, superstition, and a thirst for answers can create a perfect storm of injustice.
It's also a story about resilience, the enduring strength of the human spirit. Despite the horrors, Valero and Sanchez lived out their days, carrying the weight of their past, but also a reminder of the fragility of justice and the importance of truth.
We've explored a tale where the lines between life and death, truth and fiction, Blurred beyond recognition, a case where justice was twisted into a grotesque spectacle. As we conclude our deep dive into the crime of Cuenca, we're left with some unsettling questions. Could this happen again? Are we immune to the forces that led to this miscarriage of justice? The answers lie not in the past, but in the choices we make today, our commitment to truth, to reason, and to safeguarding the rights of all, regardless of circumstance. Thanks for joining us on this unsettling but important exploration. Until next time.